say Jay-Z did? He was there in 1996. Just because somebody's name is mentioned in a 3 million document file of a person's life whose crimes who've spanned decades doesn't mean that every single person is an accomplice. He referenced Jay-Z once. He was like, oh, we could learn from Jay-Z's business model. Where's the crime?
How do two extremely famous rappers, one of them a billionaire, end up being mentioned in an FBI report from 2019 tied to Jeffrey Epstein? The other day, millions of Epstein-related files got unsealed and released. Literally millions of pages, and buried inside all that is one anonymous FBI intake report from when the FBI opened tip lines back in 2019, trying to gather information after Epstein was arrested. Inside that report were two very prominent names in hip-hop who got mentioned. One of them is Pusha T, but the name that most people are stuck on is Jay-Z. And a lot of people are wondering what the connection actually is. How in the world did these two rappers end up in these files? In 2019, after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, the FBI opened multiple hotlines for potential victims or witnesses to come forward. Anyone could call. Your neighbor, you, me, literally anyone with a phone who might have had information. And here's the thing, every call gets documented. That's what an intake report is. Basically, it's a document used by law enforcement to record the initial, often unverified, information received regarding a potential crime or allegation. And this is what was in that intake report. On July 10, 2019 at 8:20 a.m. in the morning, an anonymous woman called the FBI and told them she was allegedly a victim of Jeffrey Epstein and others, spanning from 1994 to 2007. She recalled Harvey Weinstein, Leon Black being present during some of those occasions. And then she names two people from hip-hop, Sean Carter, Jay-Z's legal name, and rapper Pusha T. Here's what the caller claimed in the intake report. The caller claimed that on one occasion, she woke up during an incident involving Harvey Weinstein, and she identified Jay-Z as being present in the room at that time. A lot of the document is redacted, so the full context of what she's alleging isn't clear, but the claim that this person made is that Jay-Z was there when whatever Harvey Weinstein allegedly did occurred. Now, aside from that, she also described people she called handlers, individuals who allegedly befriended victims, and she specifically named rapper Pusha T as one of those people. Here's what the document said about Pusha T's alleged involvement. In 2007, she says a person she met on the street invited her to a party. She claims both Weinstein and Pusha T were at that party, and that an incident occurred. The caller named Pusha T in connection with that party. Now, I'm keeping this information surface level to comply with YouTube's community guidelines on sensitive content. The full details are documented in the publicly available intake report. So this was basically a tip to the FBI that got documented. And here's the very important part, okay? The caller also told the FBI that her memory of the events was very unclear. She confirmed she had no diagnosed mental health conditions, and when they asked her for her address, she said she didn't have a permanent one. Now, what is this document actually? Well, it's a tip line call that was logged. That's really it, right? The FBI is legally required to document every call they receive on these hotlines, whether the information can be verified or not. This is not an investigative finding, criminal charges, verified testimony, or evidence that was presented in court. No charges were filed against Jay-Z or Pusha T. No public investigation followed. No corroborating evidence has surfaced. But 6 years later, when these Epstein files, which were like in the millions, got released, people find this intake report, and suddenly there's a lot of conversations happening online. And the question is, how exactly did this actually happen? How do these two rappers in hip-hop, one of them literally a billionaire, end up in a document like this? How does an anonymous phone call from 2019 turn into a viral moment in 2026? First of all, we obviously don't have the information the FBI has. Much of it is redacted, so we don't know what investigators could or couldn't verify. We don't know whether investigators ever identified the caller. But at the time they documented this call, her identity was anonymous according to these documents. Now, one thing a lot of people are bringing up online is this, right? In 1994, Jay-Z wasn't even famous yet. How could he even allegedly be at these types of parties? That's what a lot of people who are questioning this are saying online. And let's actually stop right there and confirm some information, right? The caller stated that these alleged incidents started in 1994. However, Jay-Z was first specifically mentioned in relation to an incident she claimed happened in 1996, not 1994. And that's an important distinction because 1996 was the same year Jay-Z dropped his debut album, Reasonable Doubt. But here's the context a lot of people are missing. Jay-Z had been rapping for over a decade by that point. He started recording music around 1984, and in 1994, he found Rockefeller Records with Damon Dash. So by 1996, Jay was not some unknown rapper selling mixtapes on a corner like a lot of people are saying. He was already in the game, okay? He was already friends with Biggie in the early 90s, Same with Diddy, who he also met in the early 90s because they were all running in the same circles. So the idea that Jay wasn't famous enough to be at these types of parties in 1996, that's not accurate. He was connected. He was in the industry. He was around people with money and influence. Now, does that mean that Jay-Z was at this specific party right here? We don't really know that, right? Does it mean these allegations are true? We don't know that either. But the timeline people are using to dismiss this, he wasn't famous yet, doesn't really hold up when you look at where Jay actually was in his career at the time. Now, one of the things a lot of people don't seem to understand about the entertainment industry is how small it actually is. People who barely broken into the industry might run into each other years, sometimes literally decades, before they have their first big break. You could meet someone at a party in 2026 who doesn't blow up until 2036, but you were in the same room 10 years earlier because you were both adjacent to the same circles. And here's the key part, right? The entertainment industry is deeply connected to the financial industry. There's tons of examples of this overlap between billionaires and entertainment. Some of y'all might remember that popular video I made about rapper Sexy Red's marketing campaign being connected to billionaire Todd Boehly, who's a billionaire worth over $8 billion, who co-owns the Los Angeles Dodgers and Chelsea Football Club. He was the largest investor in this company called Gamma, which is the company that made rapper Sexy Red popular. That's how the game works. Everything is intertwined. But this same exact pattern also can be found in this particular story, talking about the connection. Now, Epstein actually had a lot of connections to the art world. He played piano as a kid and was a donor to arts organizations. He also funded musicians privately and supported a lot of creative projects behind the scenes. But here's where things get real interesting. In November 1998, Harvey Weinstein was photographed at Diddy's 29th birthday party in New York City. And guess who also attended that same party? Jay-Z. Now, the year before that, in September 1997, Donald Trump was photographed with Diddy at his restaurant opening in New York. Now, Trump is relevant here because he's mentioned a whole lot of times in the Epstein files. And like everyone else we're talking about, he was a part of the same elite circle in the 90s. Also, Trump has known Diddy for a very long time, so he's another connecting dot between all these people. Now, fast forward to October 2007. Harvey Weinstein and Jay-Z were photographed together at a nonprofit event called Keep a Child Alive in New York City. Jay-Z has been connected to Diddy. Diddy hosted parties where both Jay and Harvey Weinstein attended. We also know that Trump was in that same world. And Epstein, he was moving through these exact elite spaces, whether it's finance, real estate, entertainment, using his capital to build connections. And that part is actually documented. Epstein didn't just collect money, he collected people, business leaders, politicians, scientists, artists. He built relationships through introductions, donations, favors, and that's how he essentially stayed connected in these elite spaces, by openly moving between industries. That's why you see finance, entertainment, and politics overlapping in this story. It's also very important to note that Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein were close associates at one point. Now, Jay-Z, Diddy, Trump, Harvey Weinstein, is everything that I just mentioned completely random encounters? That's a question I'm asking you, and of course, you're going to have to make up your own mind. What I can tell you for sure is that this network of very wealthy individuals basically roll in packs. A lot of these people attend the same events, and they also do business together. So let's touch a little bit on the business part. In 2015, the Weinstein Company, co-founded by Harvey Weinstein, signed an exclusive 2-year deal with Jay-Z for both film and TV projects. In simple terms, if Jay-Z had an idea for a movie or a show, the Weinstein Company had priority access to review the project before it went anywhere else. And in Weinstein's own words from the press release, having known Jay on a personal level for many years, we are thrilled by the opportunity to expand our relationship. So yeah, Harvey Weinstein and Jay had known each other for years, and they've also done business together. That part is documented. Now, when it comes to Pusha T, that's where things are a little different. I haven't seen him publicly moving in those same Hollywood circles, although I'm sure he probably did, just assuming. Don't know, right? Back in 2007, Pusha T would have been about 30 years old, and by that point, he was already established musically through Clips. Clips formed in the mid-90s, and they've been popping since the early 2000s. So yeah, Pusha T was definitely famous. But there's obviously a very big difference between being successful and having documented business relationships with film studios and producers. And that's the part that I can't really verify when it comes to Pusha T. Because at the end of the day, this whole thing traces back to one anonymous FBI intake report from 2019, which was a tip that got logged. No charges, no verified evidence. So I'm not going to sit here and run with allegations I can't prove. Obviously, that's not what I'm doing here, right? I'm just giving you a backstory to some of the stuff that's happened in the industry as far as a lot of these people just being connected, right? Which is a very real thing. But what I do know is that, and I think this is something a lot of people forget, it's how small this world actually gets once you reach a certain level. At that point, everybody has access to everybody. Artists, executives, investors, creatives. Once you cross a certain threshold, these circles start overlapping. That doesn't automatically mean wrongdoing. It means closeness. It means proximity. And proximity a lot of times comes with silence. This is really about understanding how power actually works. Once artists reach a certain level, they stop being just entertainers, right? They start entering rooms with investors, executives, politicians, billionaires. That doesn't mean there's a crime that's been done. And here's the thing, right? Nobody wants to be the person who disrupts access in a room full of powerful people. Nobody wants to be the one who messes up relationships. Nobody wants to be the one who stops the money. That's how Jeffrey Epstein was able to stay protected for years. Not through secrecy, through networks. And the scary part is that that system and that world still very much exists right now. A lot of times I think certain things like this are also a distraction from what's actually going on. But I guess that's the conspiracy in me. Or is that a conspiracy? I'm very curious what you think. If you made it this far, drop a like on this video. Clearly you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about hip-hop colliding with the infamous Epstein files. So yeah, y'all let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
It's crazy how these rappers getting brought up into Jeffrey situation, man. Jay-Z, P. Diddy, Pusha T, like, man, what's going on back then, man? Like, it's been some freaky shit going on back in the day. I ain't gonna hold you, man. Like, damn, boy. Diddy party, now Jay-Z, he ain't spoke out, he ain't said nothing, no lawyer spoke up for him, no nothing, but it's something going on, man. And people feel to get to the bottom of it. But drop y'all thoughts and opinions in the comments. If you got some information, put it in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this situation. Cause this shit getting real freaky. I'm gone.
Tapping, GMB, outside whole page on heat, real stories, real streets. Tapping, GMB, tapping, don't sleep, scroll stop. Soon as we speak, from the trenches to the feet. Tapping, GMB.